Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we're going to revisit one of my local breweries here in Durham, and I had a really good experience with the last beer I tried from them, so definitely looking forward to this one, particularly because it is a special edition. So we're going to return to the Durham Brewery here from Bowburn, just to the kind of south of the city, and we're having a taste of a special version of their Imperious. So this one is aged in whisky casks, it's an Imperial stout and it comes in at 12% ABV. Should be a really nice beer. The last one was, I think it was called the Beads Chalice if I'm remembering correctly, a Belgian style tripel, and it was really interesting because it was almost like a kind of hybrid with a kind of almost quite distinctively English malt base, but then with that Belgian yeasty character on it. So I'm really looking forward to something quite interesting from this beer as well. I'm sure it'll be really good. This was another one that I picked up from Market Wines in the town centre as well, so do make sure you go in there and have a little look at the different selection of beers if you find yourself in Durham. Really nice guy that runs the shop as well. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Durham Brewery before. No doubt there will be some more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, uses a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you before, and that's constantly being added to. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Durham Brewery then. So Durham Brewery was founded back in 1994 by Christine and Steve Gibbs, both of whom were working as teachers at the time, but they soon left their jobs, of course, to focus on their new business. In the early years, Steve developed the white range of beers, which proved to be really successful, and in 1999 they sold their original 5 BBL kit and installed a new 10 BBL system in a new premises as well, and I believe that's still where they are based today. So they first started producing bottle conditioned beers back in 2000, and they had a rebranding in 2011 and opened a bar at the brewery site that year as well. But over the coming years they continued to expand. They celebrated their 20th anniversary in 2014 and also upgraded their brewing equipment the following year, and in total there are now 6 people working at the brewery, and they've got quite an extensive range of beers as well. I think there's about 15 or so beers that these guys are producing regularly, and you can actually find their beers on cask and things like that in the local area. And like I said, these guys are probably more in England, of course, as you do in Scotland. You do kind of get 2 different types of brewery. You get the more kind of traditional one, and you get the kind of more modern American style breweries as well. These guys probably lean a little bit more towards the kind of traditional side of things, but I have been impressed with the beers that I've tried from, and they do like to kind of experiment with a few different styles and things as well. But this is one, as I say, that was recommended to me by the guys at Durham Market Wines and things, so looking forward to this one. I always love things that are aged in whisky barrels, and the original version of this is supposed to be really good as well, so I need to make sure that I review that for you at some point as well. So yeah, that's all you need to know about the brewery just now. As I always say, check out the brewery website in the description below if you want to have a little to learn a little bit more about this brewery. So on the side here it says Imperious, worthy of the Empress of Russia, the defining imperial Russian stout, aged in oak whisky cask. This limited edition beer will keep you warm on colder nights. A strong bourbon aroma with oily coffee, licorice and dark chocolate flavours in the massive smooth vanilla body. Matured for over 6 months, already creating a long, rich and warming finish with a hint of brown sugar on this one. And it was brewed on the 29th of the 11th, 2016. So it will have aged a little bit by this time. And I think I paid about £5 or £6 for this bottle, so I'm sure it will be worth it. You know, when you get a big beer like this at 12%, it probably is going to be something pretty special. But yeah, I'll just have a little look at the artwork on this one before we open up. Check, you're seeing it here on the camera. Nicely presented. This one there, you can see the Durham cross on this one. That, of course, is on the bottle cap as well, but nicely presented. The original Imperious, as most of these Durham Brewery beers do, they've got this kind of cream background, and they're all different colours depending on what beer it is that you're tasting. But the original Imperious is white, and I think it's maybe green or blue, one of those two. But yeah, without further ado then, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. Really looking forward to this one. Nice smoky opening then, and we'll get it out into the glass. And I tell you something though, as soon as you open that up, you get a big waft of chocolate and a little bit of that kind of oaky character that you'd expect from a barrel-aged beer. But yeah, that looks really nice actually. So as you would expect from this beer, it's poured a nice kind of dark ebony rosewood colour. There's a lot of vanilla and whisky notes coming off this one just as you open it up, which is quite interesting. But you can see there's a solid 3/4, 2/3 kind of finger of a, I'd say quite a light beigey tan, yeah, more beige head on this one rather than tan actually. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and quite a few wee ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there as well. But dark ebony rosewood colour as you would expect from an Imperial Stout. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. Yeah, so with this one, they were saying on the aroma, on the bottle, sorry, that the aroma on this one should give you a bourbon note. To me, it's definitely Scotch. American bourbon's always just a little bit more kind of vanilla and oaky than that, and this one, it's almost got a little bit of that kind of charring, almost spicy kind of character that you get from Scotch whisky. It's a little bit just more earthy and kind of peaty. You can definitely pick up a little bit of peatiness out of this beer. It's got that distinctive kind of earthy, peaty character coming out of it. But yeah, definitely a lot of brown sugar in there. You can smell that kind of dark toasted caramel, maybe a little bit of treacle, some chocolate as well. If you take it in a little bit more deeply, I think there's a bit of a kind of smoothness from the earthy hops as well. But definitely some nice spicy kind of oaky characters coming out of this one as well. Wee bit of red fruit, if you take it in just that note, you can get that little bit of sharpness from the sort of red fruity esters. It's kind of a sort of plummy note, I think, that's coming out of this one. Or maybe more raisins actually. It's just got a little bit of that sharpness to it, which is nice. But yeah, definitely some peaty kind of whisky notes coming out of this. And you can get that nice, that brown sugary element to this one's really nice as you kind of swirl it about. Dark chocolate in there, like I said, and you can pick up just a little bit of a roasted black malt backbone to the beer as well. But overall, it smells really nice. When you let it settle, that's when you start to get some of these peaty whisky notes out of it that I was talking about earlier. And as you open it up, you do get a little bit of that vanilla and nice lighter kind of woody note. But for me, the woody character in this one is a little bit more spicy, and that's kind of what makes it come across as more of a Scotch, along with the peat, of course, and rather than being a bourbon kind of note. But as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of your beer before you get stuck into it. But I think this is going to be a really, really nice one. So without further ado, let's get stuck into this then. So this is a special edition of the Imperious from Durham Brewery in Bowburn, just to the south of Durham here in County Durham in England. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål. Yeah, it's really quite nice. There's a lot of stuff going on in the flavour of this one, as you would expect. It comes in and it's really, really smooth, and you do get a little bit of alcohol warmth from it later. And you can just feel, the thing that's interesting me about this at the moment, you've seen how long it was since I took that sip, and some of that roasted black malt is just starting to push its way just now. There's a whole kind of, not quite a roller coaster, but just a landslide of flavours kind of come in with this one, and then it just gives way to that roasty black malt backbone. It's quite interesting. As I always say, especially with big beers like this, pardon me, sorry, just sugar it around your palate a little bit and let your whole mouth adjust to it before you start analysing the flavour too much. But yeah, with this one, as I say, and as you progress through the flavour, you can feel that roasty black malt backbone just kind of underpinning this one, and it comes out quite a bit later in the flavour, but once you actually pick it up, it does kind of stay there a little bit more, maybe a bit of a placebo effect or something, who knows. But on top of that, there's this nice dark chocolate, it's almost like that kind of 90% cocoa. It reminds me of that sort of dark Lindt chocolate that you can get. It's got that 90% kind of cocoa feel to it, but right in the middle of the palate, it's got a lot of these kind of brown sugary notes. That's where you're getting the dark kind of treacle, and right in the very centre of your palate, it just gets a little bit lighter, and it's that kind of more sweet caramel flavour that's in there. So there's a nice kind of range of flavours as you go from the outside of the palate towards the end. You can feel the dark black malt backbone to it. You can get a little bit of that sweeter chocolate then right in the middle of the palate. You've got the treacle and then the very light caramel as well. So a really interesting beer. And as the flavour progresses, you start to get some of these kind of woody characters coming out of the beer. That dark that kind of darker, almost very, to me there's a definite, very slight kind of peaty character to this one. You can pick it up in the aftertaste just towards the back of the palate. I think there's a little touch of peaty character to this one. Definitely. I think I'm picking up just a wee bit of that peaty character in the back corners of the palate. I always love when you get little things like that in a beer. But yeah, that's coming out quite nicely. And the vanilla, as your mouth kind of adjusts to this beer, you do start to get a bit of vanilla, and it comes out just behind the kind of edges of your palate. You can just feel the vanilla pushing its way out and sitting on top of that dark chocolate that I was talking about, next to the kind of caramel flavours in the middle of the palate. There's a whole host of things kind of going on with this beer that's really interesting. The hops are very straight up, of course. In the back corners of the palate, you get a little bit of a kind of earthy bitterness there. But as you come further forward along the sides of your tongue, it just kind of smooths out, and it becomes, there's maybe a little touch of herbal character there around the front curve of the palate too. But overall, as you would expect from this beer, and it's probably English hops that are in this one, you're getting a nice earthiness from it, and that just kind of helps it smooth out really nicely. The fruity side of the beer is pretty interesting as well. As I always say, if you just go behind the very front curve of your palate, you'll get that little oily bubble where these fruity esters always come out. And for me, this one's really interesting. There's a little bit of a kind of red candied fruit flavour that comes out further into the aftertaste, but initially it starts off quite sharp. I think it's a kind of raisiny flavour that's coming out at the beginning. Yeah. It's got this really dark, boozy, raisiny character at the beginning, and then it just mellows out a little bit and gets sweeter and sweeter, and kind of gradually fades into this almost kind of candied red fruit. I always say this in the videos, but it really does remind me of the little heart-shaped sweets you get in Haribo Starmix. It just kind of starts off with a really sharp raisin and just mellows its way out, which is really quite nice. There's a good bit of boozy warmth from this beer as well, which is to be expected at 12%, but it does cover it fairly well, but you do get just that little bit of warmth from it. And obviously with this beer being a year old, I do suspect some of the woody elements and the kind of vanilla and characters and things like that are a little bit more pronounced in this one than they would have been originally. But that is speculation, of course. Let me know what you thought of this one in the description below, or in the comment section below, sorry. If you did try it at an earlier stage, it'd be really interesting to see how these beers mature. But yeah, I do like how this one comes across. You always want beers like this that are interesting, and I do like that little kind of boozy whiskey kind of peaty character that's coming out of this one. It's just quite an unusual thing to have in an Imperial Stout, but I certainly do like what they've done with this one. I think it was only 2,600 bottles that they produced to this, which is you know, obviously very, very little. It must have only been a couple of barrels that they had to do this, maybe 5 barrels or something like that. But they certainly did a nice job with this beer. I'd love to drink it again, so I might need to go and buy another bottle of this and just keep it for a special occasion, because it does go together really quite well. And some of the flavour combinations that you have on this make it quite unique. As I say, that kind of peaty character, the peaty boozy whiskey character in this one is really quite unusual. I've never quite come across a barrel-aged Imperial Stout like that before. In terms of the mouthfeel then with this one, I would say full-bodied, definitely a full-bodied beer. Carbonation's very smooth. Definitely leans towards the oily side of things. The malt base on this one, it's got a really good balance. It does lean a little bit more towards the sweet side of things, but then as it mellows out, the sort of bitter character from the roasty black malt just pushes it back a little bit. There's a nice sort of there is a nice little bit of bitterness from the hops, but overall the hoppy side of things is quite smooth, and then there's just a little bit of a kind of red fruity ester to it as well that gives it a little bit of juicy fruity character. But overall the flavour, this one's all about how the flavours kind of combine. It does have a little bit of that kind of unusual element to it with the peaty character like I was saying, but it's a beer that really will kind of keep you interested. It's definitely a taster beer, a sipper beer. I'm going to go away and share the rest of this one now, I think. But I'll have to say, Durham Brewery again have done a nice job with this. Maybe they're kind of good at doing these high ABV beers, because I really enjoyed the Bede's Chalice. I've really enjoyed this one, so I probably need to kind of stick with the high alcohol ones to see how I get on. I'll try some of their lighter alcohol ones on a later video, but this one has been really quite nice to try, and I'm glad that I got to try one of their special edition beers while I was here in Durham. So yeah, the Imperious Whiskey Barrel Aged Edition from Durham Brewery down in Bowburn, just to the south of the city. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this review. Once again, thank you for watching. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know your favourite beers from Durham Brewery, of course, as well, and I'll see if I can review those for you. But this is a really interesting Imperial Stout, and those kind of peaty whiskey characteristics that it has are quite unusual and what makes this beer quite unique actually. So I'll try and review the original Imperious for you as well and see what I think. But make sure you check out all my social media, make sure you check out Durham Brewery and all these kind of things. Once again, thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Imperious Whiskey Barrel Aged Edition from Durham Brewery in Bowburn in County Durham in England. Slàinte just now.